Jessica, this is Dr. Molly Roberts, and I put together this video today at your request, and also to give you a little bit of a sense of who I am and what I would be discussing if I came onto the show that you're setting up. I just got your questions today, so I want to give them a lot more attention than just an hour or two. But I also wanted to give you a sense of how I might come across and some of the things I would be discussing on the show. So to start out with, one thing I really want to stress is that I love technology. I'm in a scientific field. I love reading research. I love knowing everything that's new and improved out there. But at the same time, I'm also aware that there are other aspects to what I see as the future of our species and the future of the world. And so those are some of the things that I would also want to discuss. One of the things is that I am a bit of a history nut, a bit of a history buff. And so I really have explored how people have responded to change in the past. And what I've seen over and over and over again is that what shows up in the history books is people dealing with extraordinary circumstances, people dealing with change. And in all of those, what seems to come up is that idea of, are we the villain, the hero, or the victim in our own story? And for the next 40 years, I see that showing up as a theme to how we collectively handle our future. So in terms of the technology of it, I see a real advantage of that. Certainly if someone is able to walk again because there's a machine that helps them to do that, I see that as a positive thing. If there's genetics that helps somebody deal with breast cancer or some other illness that is devastating to their life, I see that as a good thing. Where I see where I see it might get out of balance is that idea of being in right relationship to ourselves, to the world around us. And where I see the great potential of the next 40 years is in coming into right relationship with ourselves and the world around us. I think we're on the verge of some major shifts in our consciousness. And it doesn't surprise me that this is at a time we're at some major shifts in our technology, because in all of history that's always been the case, is that when there are shifts all across the board. And this really is a chance for us to come into right relationship with each other. The last era has been a lot dealing with individuation, separation, finding out how we are unique and separate from each other. I see this next shift into the next 40, 50, 100 years having to do with finding out how similar we are to each other, and that common humanity, and how we are connected and all one. So there's some real interesting things, I think, on the horizon for all of us. And what was coming up for me when you were talking about that idea of a chip in the brain helping us to communicate to someone on the other side of the world, one of the things that was popping into my head was that idea of, what if we didn't need the technology to do that? There are a lot of studies looking at how important intuition is and how we really haven't taken advantage of that getting quiet within ourselves and having that inner wisdom come forth. And there are a lot of studies looking at the communication that is nonverbal between people who are very close, between twins, between partners. In fact, there was just a recent study putting spouses under the MRI while where their partner dealt with pain, and the same pain centers that were being tapped into for the spouse that was undergoing the ordeal was also showing up in the brain MRI of the partner. So there are connections that we really haven't delved into that I think are going to come into play more and more as time goes on. Other things that I think are really important are the idea of the placebo effect. You know, we often take that out of our research. Just about every pill that's out there, the advantage in the healing power seems to be at least 30% dealing with placebo effects. So we take that out to decide whether or not the pill really does work on its own. Well, if 30% is having to do with your belief in this pill working, that is untrained minds, untrained psyches. What if we took that untrained mind and taught them how to heal themselves? Could we bump that up from 30% to 60% to 70%? Maybe we could bump that up all the way, depending on how good we got at teaching ourselves how to get into right relationship with our bodies and our minds. So I think that's a couple of things that are going to come into play. The other thing, and we talked about this over the phone, is that that connection not only to ourselves but to each other in the sense of the internet. I see the internet as a significant technological advancement, not only because it's a cool gadget, but also because it is helping us to come into better relationship with each other. When we were talking over the phone, I discussed my daughter, who has relationships with people in Istanbul, in Egypt, in Spain, in Mexico, in England. And it's really hard to look at someone as the other when you're talking to them about their children, or you're talking to them about their fears and their hopes and their dreams. It's very hard to look at someone from a different religion and not see the humanity. And so what I see as part of the future is that we're going to get to that interconnectedness. We're going to find more peace in the world, one person at a time, as the internet takes off and really becomes an important mode of communication. I think the people are going to figure out that we're all connected, and the nations will follow suit once enough of the people believe that. So I see that as a huge shift, and that's one of the many shifts in consciousness that I see over the next 40 or 50 years. So that idea of right relationship to ourselves, and I can get into that much more in terms of how the genetics and the using the machines to help with our functioning in terms of the relationship with ourselves. Is it bringing us into better balance with ourselves, or is it getting us more out of balance with ourselves? And we can have that whole discussion as well. But on a planetary level, I see that things are really shifting. This is a fascinating project, in my opinion. I think you're doing a wonderful thing of putting this together, because these are the questions that are going to be coming up over the next 40 or 50 years. And to start the questioning of whether or not this is good, bad, and different, whether it's something that's heading us in a direction that we want to go in, I think is very important. So I give you a lot of credit for putting this together. And I hope that I get to be a part of it, because I have a lot to say. And as I said, I will be sending you the rest of my my answers to your questions in the very near future. So thank you.